Moving on to our legislative update, my portion of the legislative update. I mentioned this last month, but just for those of you who weren't here, or for those of you that need an extra reminder, as of February 1st, we have some new rules that were implemented. OG Analytical implemented some changes to support this new rule. There are new requirements for all laboratory certificates of analysis. If you have a product that you get tested and you want to take it to a dispensary, or if you go to a dispensary to buy a product, there is a certificate of analysis that has to accompany that product. And the certificate of analysis, starting February 1st, has to include these additional items that the state did not previously require. The first one being every single pesticide analyte that was screened for, so each pesticide compound that we looked for has to be listed. We have to list our limits of quantitation. The limit of quantitation, or LOQ, which you'll see on those reports, tells you what the smallest amount of that material is that we can positively identify when we do our analysis. So how low can we search for that needle in the haystack and still say that that's actually a needle? The additional QC data is a lot of stuff that you probably, is like you look at it and your eyes just kind of gloss over because you're like, what the heck does that mean? I have a couple of examples of that for you tonight that I'm gonna just kind of briefly go over with you so you can kind of understand what work goes into us doing this analysis to ensure that we're giving you good, reliable, accurate data. We also now have to record total THC and total CBD, specifically as written in the language, which requires that we take into account the fact that Delta-9 THC, the stuff that actually gets you high, comes from a biosynthetic precursor, the THCA. The plant itself produces THCA, and only through a process called decarboxylation do we see that conversion to the Delta-9 THC that gets us high. So when we say, how much THC does this product have in it, we want to know basically, right, like how high is this potentially going to get me? So we have to take a calculated measurement of the mass difference between the THCA and the THC. And this is now required for all cannabis analytical laboratory results. We've seen some discrepancy, a lack of standardization in the industry from some labs that will report this way. OG Analytical has always reported this way. To a cumulative summation. There are labs out there that test for multiple different types of THC, Delta-9 THC, Delta-8, THCV, THCA, even CBN. We've seen labs include on this, and previously they might do a cumulative summation where they're just adding all of those different types of THC together to give you your total THC value, and that's how you can get these really huge THC potency numbers, but it's really not an accurate reflection of what effect that product might have on you, because we're looking at irrelevant types of THC that are not going to affect how high you get. So that's a new requirement as well. I've got a couple of copies of our new lab report. So for those of you that have been testing with us and recognize our test results, you might see this looks quite a bit different starting February than it did previous to February. And we implemented this change really to support the new regulation. You can see that total THC calculation is always going to be reported there. We've got this is our massive QC data section that includes that calculation. Our QC data includes things like deviations from our standard method. So if we had anything in the standard method that we utilize to produce those results, we should be reporting that information. We also have to report recoveries for all analytes. So when we do our analysis, we need to make sure that what we get out on the back end is the same thing that we put in the beginning. And to measure this, we use a sample with a known potency value of any particular compound that we're looking for. And then if we've put in 0.2 parts per million of something, we should be getting out 0.2 parts per million on the other side, right? That's how we measure our recovery. So all this stuff goes into our quality control to make sure that we're giving you good, repeatable, reliable results. We also use things like internal standards, replicates, reagent and sample blanks. This is how we measure to make sure that we are not introducing contamination at the lab. If we put in a sample that has a known value of 0, we should have 0 out the other side. If there's a positive hit for something out the other side, that means we did something wrong. So we have to go back and fix that. So we need to be reporting all of this stuff here. So when you look at your lab results from now on, you should be seeing this kind of data from any lab. And from us, if you want to know what we're doing and how we're doing it, it's all right there for you to see. The date of the analysis must be reported also for each analysis type. That's just a part of our new TNI accreditation requirements. So for every single different analysis we do, the potency, the mold, the pesticides, the water activity, the moisture content, those all should have their own individual date reported for them as well. We have added also a second page to our report. We used to have a one-page report, but in having to add all of the pesticide compounds and our LOQs and all the extra QC data, it's now a two-page report. So bear with us. Thank you for tolerating the extra paperwork you have to look at. But we've got all this good information on the pesticides report now. Each pesticide analyte is reported. We report our limit of quantitation. We've gotten a lot of questions about this, so I just thought I might go over it with you guys. We have 3 different columns on our pesticide report. The first column is the limit that the state has set, that's the tolerance. The second column is our LOQ. That's how low we can see that particular compound. How far down in the haystack can we look and still positively identify that as a needle. And then the third column is the detection that we found. So if you see this less than LOQ pass, that means that we did not find anything at all within our ability to positively quantify that compound. The detection of each compound should be reported as parts per billion or parts per million. And for us, when we report this, you're going to see this as a positive number over here. And if we have a hit, we'll put it in red just to make it a little bit easier for you to identify. We have 2 different sections on our pesticide report. The first one is the required pesticide screen, and the second one is the additional pesticides that the state doesn't require us to look for, like the abamectin that we found in the Guardian, and myclobutanil, etc. And then if we didn't detect it, we have to include a statement that the level detected was less than our limit of quantitation. So I hope that wasn't too crazy technical for you. I hope that it just kind of helped to give you a little brief overview. I promised a couple of people in the audience actually that I would go over this with them and get them this data, so now you have it. You're welcome. March 1st is our next change, and this is a pretty big one. As of March 1st, dispensaries can only accept lab results from labs that have been listed on the OHA website as an approved laboratory. In order to get on that list, a lab has to provide their quality manual, has to provide their quality manual to the OHA. This is a massive, massive document that includes basically everything about who we are, how we do what we do, and what makes us credible, reliable, and competent to do that work. So this is exactly why OG Analytical was closed last week, was so that we could work on this, so that we can make sure we meet this deadline and get on this list. We are not on the OHA approved laboratory list today. We have until the 29th. We have no fear or doubt that we will make that deadline. So just so you're aware, we'll be there. Just have patience with us. We're working on it. And lastly, I just wanted to make sure to cover this item that's in these changes for you. The OHA can do an audit of your facility, of a dispensary, and check to see that you're in compliance with these rules. And I'm not really sure what the penalties are if you're not in compliance with it, but probably a good idea to just make sure you're checking those certificates of analysis to make sure that you are in compliance. All right, welcome ETA. I have Ben Nadolny and Charles Weller coming up to share some intel with us.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, Bethany and OG Analytical for this event, for putting this event on so many months out this year. Excited about life and family changes for Bethany and her family, and excited to see Erica running this event in the future. I'm Benjamin. This is Charles Weller and Mike Rebzian. We're here representing the Emerald Trade Alliance, otherwise known as the ETA. We meet twice a month, the first and third Thursday of the month at the wetlands. And we encourage anybody who's interested in being a part of the cannabis industry, or if you have questions, or you have like an idea or a product or some innovation, come to the first Thursday meeting. First Thursday of the month, the Wetlands Pub from 7 to 9 p.m. Come check us out. We are a business advocacy collective. We started a year ago to kind of have our voice heard in the legislature and kind of maybe give each other an idea of what's happening in this industry, so we're all on the same page. And since then, we have tightened up, and now we are business advocacy. We are here to support each other. We are here to network, and it's been amazing, some of the connections we've seen in this group over the past year. I'm going to pass it off to Charles, and we're going to get started on some of the fast-moving bills here in our legislature.
Really appreciate y'all coming out tonight, supporting Cannabis Science Pub, OG Analytical, and the sponsors. Really hope you have an opportunity, anybody that's involved in the industry or even interested in watching out for patients' rights, please don't hesitate to come out to our meetings with the ETA, especially the first Thursday of the month with the wetlands. I'm going to make this real quick. We're in the middle of the legislative session right now, so I think there's a little bit of turmoil going on. Things are being turned on their ear, and unless you're watching on a day-to-day basis, it's really hard to stay on top of it. We've got 3 bills right now. They're on the plate. I'm going to go through some of the major points of those and where they are and how they affect the industry at large. One of the main ones right now that's out is House Bill 4014. The reason that this is so important is it is now moved out of the legislature and is sitting on the desk in front of our governor, and she's probably about to sign it. And what's going to happen with 4014 is, if anyone's been watching, there's some residency requirements for being involved in cannabis business, and those are being taken off the table. So effectively, anyone from any state is going to be able to move into Oregon and open a cannabis business carte blanche. For anybody that's interested in making sure that it stays within the state in the same way that it has in Colorado, the same way it has in Washington, to make sure that we can get this fledgling industry off the ground for Oregonians, please do what you can to write to the governor and let her know that it's not in our interest to have that bill go forward. I would like to point out on that bill, however, there are a couple of good things that would happen if it does go through. One of those being that if you go and get your medical marijuana card, you no longer have to wait for the OHA to ship it to you, which can take 4 to 8 weeks. You can actually take your packet of paper into a dispensary and be able to utilize that to get medicine, which is really helpful to a lot of patients. Some of the other points on 4014, they lowered the vet fee for anyone involved in getting an OMMP license down to $20 if you're a veteran. Same thing with anybody that has a felony or any sort of charge that may have kept them from using the medical marijuana card and actually having access to medicine. That's off the docket now, so anybody in the state of Oregon can go get an OMMP license and go get medicine. And then there's some business deduction stuff for the IRS for 280E. Anybody that is running a business may be interested in that. And that's House Bill 4014. That's likely to go through. Again, if you can reach out to the governor and shut that down, that would be fantastic. Then we have Senate Bill 1511. This one comes back to early sales. We're likely to see some topicals, some extracts, and some edibles go to the market, so that between now and October, there are some items besides just flower that's accessible to the general public. So hopefully that does go through. Also on 1511, they start to do a crossover here. We talked before about there being no cohabitation between medical marijuana and the recreational system, as far as having a facility. If you've got a processing facility or you have a dispensary, they were going to cut that out. Now they're talking about crossing streams, where you literally have the ability as a medical grower to grow and sell into the recreational market, or as a recreational grower, grow and sell into the medical market. So there are actually a lot of things about this that could turn to be beneficial, as long as we keep our eye on it and make sure that they don't twist it around too much. 1511, wrapping it up. So there's been some things about growers being able to apply to the OLCC and getting an extension to be able to get your licensing set up with the OLCC. They put an extension on that until April 1st. So if you need to register with the OLCC, if you're a medical grower, it's time to go ahead and start moving on that. And on 1511, the only other thing in there, if you're going into a medical dispensary and you have a medical card, under no circumstances are you going to be charged the state tax. So it just removes that for any penalty for anything that's on the shelf. And then besides that, we've got Bill 1598, Senate Bill 1598. I'm going to hand over to Ben.
Okay, so Senate Bill 1598, it's a Christmas tree bill. They're putting a lot of like random stuff on there to try to please the industry. Because it's a short session, there's not much time left. A lot of things are plugged on there. It's still in committee. There's still a little bit of work to be done on this. We all know that the medical marijuana growers wanted to have a piece in this, and 1511 allows a little bit of that cohabitation, or a little bit of that co-crossing of the product. 1598 will actually help allow to grandfather in medical marijuana grow sites. It restricts the counties from being able to prescribe setbacks if your building was built before July of 2015, if you had your card come before January 2015. Let's see, also there's some stuff in there that talks about allowing cannabinoid extracts to make sure that those can go back to the grower, back to the patient, as opposed to doing the whole circle of going to the processor, to a dispensary, back to the patient. It also offers a little bit more expungement language to make sure things can be scaled down to Class C misdemeanors or just off altogether. It also allows for nonprofit dispensaries, and guys, this is kind of a big one. When we talk about compassion, the nonprofit dispensary system is going to be really helpful for a lot of people. Again, there's a lot of things being plugged into this. It's like at 20-something pages now. It's not that big of a bill. Senate Bill 1598, go check it out. I know, and so you guys know, Senator Brzezinski is working really hard to plug in some things for us. I don't think these things are going, but Brzezinski's trying to get them to limit the OHA fees. Our OHA money is going to pay for a lot of other stuff, and so President Brzezinski's working hard to try to get those fees reduced. So you can write to your legislature and let them know you agree with or don't agree with that. Brzezinski's trying to get it so that the OHA can't prescribe or set the limits on cannabinoid potency. Not getting a lot of support on there, but still he's fighting hard to do that. I just felt it was kind of important to note that. But if there is more information you guys want to know about these laws and kind of things that are moving, come to the Emerald Tree Alliance meetings. They start the first hour, 40 minutes, hours of discussing kind of what's going on in the legislature, what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the news, media, things that affect us. So again, first and third Thursday at the Wetlands Pub in West Eugene. March 3rd is the big networking session, so please join us, 7 to 9 p.m. Wetlands.